Hello and welcome to Aging Population Part 2. A different way to change the situation would be to change how old people have to be when they stop working. Many people have a choice when they stop. They save some of their salary from the day they start work, and when they've saved enough, they can stop. How do they calculate if they have enough? Well, the first question is, how much do I need every year after I stop working? Let's say the answer is 5,000 baht per month or 60,000 baht per year. The second question is, how much money do I need to invest to get a return of 60,000 baht per year? If the return I can get on my money is 10% per year, I will need 600,000 baht to invest to get income every year of 60,000 baht. If I work from the age of 15 to the age of 65, so 50 years, to get 600,000 baht, I will need to save 600,000 divided by 50, which equals 12,000 baht every year or 1,000 baht every month. 600,000 baht sounds like a huge amount of money, but think of it like this. If I start work when I am 15 years old and end when I'm 65, I will be working for 50 years. If I invest 5,200 baht with a 10% return when I am 15 years old, it will be worth 610,000 baht when I am 65, even if I never save any more money. This is fantastic news, but who's got 5,200 baht when they are 15 years old, right? The other good news is that if you save some every month, the amount you need to save every month gets very small. If you do it like this, when you die, you will still have 600,000 baht to give to your children. Another option is that they slowly pay you part of the 600,000 baht from 65 until you die, and you get 0 baht when you die. People who save money like this usually have plenty of money when they retire. They don't need to get money from their children to support them. Then their children will have more money for their own family and will maybe choose to have more children. They can often choose how old they will be when they retire. If they've already saved enough, they can retire when they are 55 years old. Other people who didn't save as much might need to continue working until they're 70 years old. Some people retire at age 55 early and some later. Most countries' governments run a scheme that works something like what we just looked at. If you're working, you have to participate in the government scheme or a similar one. You cannot choose not to save. They make you participate because they don't want to see beggars on the street. It's bad for the people who beg and also for the reputation of the country. So, what's the problem? If everyone saves for when you're old like this, there should always be enough money for them, even if the number of people working is smaller. In theory, that's right. The problem is that governments all over the world cheated. They used the money that people saved out of their wages to do other things, like building roads or hospitals, or maybe they just kept the level of tax lower than it needed to be. They thought that would be okay, because they could use the money saved in 2023 by working people to pay the money to the people who were old in 2023. So, for example, I started working in 1978 when I was 20 years old, and I saved money every payday. There should be enough by 2023, 45 years later, for me to retire when I'm 65 years old in 2023. But the government took that money to do something else. My son is now working and he is also saving money every payday. The government plan was that they would take the money that my son saves and pay it to me. That way I can keep getting my pension, even though they have used the money I saved. Tricky stuff. If you or I did something like that, the police would take us away. The problem the government has now is that because there are not so many people working, and because old people stay alive longer, the money they take from the working people won't be enough to pay the old people. So the government thought it would be like this. We spend the money these old guys saved on something else. But these working guys are saving money from every payday. So it's about the right amount to pay the pensioners. So we'll just pass the working guys' savings on to the old guys. That might have worked, but it didn't because of population change. This group got bigger and this group got smaller. So the savings of the workers aren't big enough to pay the pensions anymore. So what could the government do? One option would be to increase the amount that workers have to save every month. That would be very unfair to the workers. They would have to save more than they need to cover the cost of supporting themselves when they are old, to make sure there is enough for the previous generation. Some people would see this as the government stealing from one generation to give to another generation. The generation who are, say, 65 today get double benefits. They got the benefit of whatever the government used their money for, plus they will get the benefit of pension payments when they are old. They saved enough money for one of these, but not for both. The next generation, who are, say, 45 years old now, would have the opposite situation. They would have to save twice, once for pensions for the present 65-year-olds and once for their own pension when they are old. They save twice and they get only one benefit. This kind of intergenerational accounting can get very confused about what should be included and what should not. For example, you could say that the present 45-year-olds have to pay less for education because the next generation, the under 20-year-olds, is smaller. As we saw earlier, when we looked at populations and politics, the older group has very strong voting power and could force this on the younger groups. But it might make an unstable situation even worse. The younger group, the 45-year-olds, will probably have to pay more because the older generation is bigger. To make them also pay twice for themselves and the older generation could look very unfair to them. We should probably change that to say it could look very unfair to some of them. As we saw earlier, this is the generation, the 45-year-olds, who have already reduced the number of children they have, partly so that they can support their parents. Putting this another way, a lot of 45-year-olds are already paying extra voluntarily. And this is the end of part 2, my friends. Part 3 coming next.